What is the actual legal ruling on the Eid prayer? So this is the hot question on everybody's hearts and minds at the moment. And I'm going to deal with this in two parts. Okay, the second part is the political aspect and probably the more important one, relatively speaking. The first part, the actual legalities. The scholars differed over the status, the legal status of the prayer itself. Those that were the strictest were scholars like the contemporary scholars like Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah took this particular position, and that is that it's a fard al-ain. It is an absolute individual obligation. Every single person has to do that, and that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ, and pray and then sacrifice, and they took this ayah to refer to the Eid as well, and so therefore they said this is a command and therefore it should be done. The hadith in Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ commanded everybody to come, not just the men, not just the women, but even the menstruating women as well, that we know don't normally come to the masjid, and that used to therefore happen, the Eid prayer, outside in the gathered areas, the Eidgah, as Pakistanis say, the open areas where people can congregate. So there's a real emphasis on everybody coming out, party attitude, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a real big event, very big rite, from the sha'a'ir. So that was a very strongly held position from an evidence point of view. The Hanafi school are very close. They said it's wajib, which is basically just a little level down from fard. It's basically somewhere in between sunnah and fard. They take it very, very seriously. And then you've got the position of the Hanbali school that said it's a fard kifaya, meaning that as long as there's some group of people that offer it in your area, then you don't need to come to the masjid and pray it, because it's been prayed for the people. The obligation has been lifted. Kafi, this is where the word kifaya comes from. And then you've got the Shafi'i scholars and the Maliki school as well. They consider this to be a sunnah mu'akkada. And their evidence base is actually very interesting. They basically said, they use the hadith that many scholars actually use, that when the Prophet ﷺ was asked by the Bedouin, what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated upon me? And the Prophet ﷺ said only 5 prayers in a day and night. So therefore every other prayer other than this is not obligatory unless there's a direct text that specifies it, like the Jum'ah prayer, which is specified. The Eid prayer doesn't have that direct specific text. So that's one of the evidences. The other evidence, they said that there's no adhan and iqamah for the Eid prayer, which is true. And so therefore they said if there is no adhan and calling for it, then it shouldn't be legislated as an obligatory prayer. And they had other evidences and theories as well. What there's no doubt about though is that they consider it to be important, because they know that the Prophet ﷺ never ever gave up doing the Eid prayer every single time, and that's why they consider it to be a sunnah mu'akkada. So regardless of whatever position you hold, we should try our very, very best to establish the Eid prayer as much as we possibly can as a institution, and then to attend it as well. And how should it be prayed? Of course, it needs to be prayed in congregation. But is that an obligation for it? Is it a condition for the Eid prayer to be offered? Like, would it be valid for you to pray it alone? Well, the Hanafi school and the Hanbalis make it an absolute condition, as probably the majority of the rest of scholars as well. They consider it has to be done by the Imam on the day itself, on the day of Eid itself, in the duha time, which is in between sunrise and dhuhr, in that forenoon time, and it should be preferably prayed outside and gathered as much as possible, but it's got to be done in congregation. Whereas the Malikis and the Shafi'is said, you know what, it can be done by yourself as well. What's the consequence of that? The consequence is that therefore, according to the majority of scholars, if you miss the Eid prayer somehow, you then couldn't make it up by yourself. You wouldn't be expected, because the congregation is a requirement for it. That's the consequences of understanding this ruling. So I hope you understand that whatever you hold, whatever madhab you follow, whatever position you follow, it is something which is a highly, highly recommended prayer. If not a clearest and most emphasized of sunnahs, then it is at least a wajib action. It is something that we should consider to be obligatory and try our very best to ensure that is performed in congregation at the place itself. That's the individual legal ruling on the prayer itself intrinsically. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Subscribe to this channel, share this video, and click on the bell icon so that you can be notified with every new video at FaithIQ. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.